The youngest and most talented alchemist in the history of the heavenly continent, Yi Han, was brutally stripped of his divine body by his master and thrown into an alchemy furnace, using his flesh and blood to refine into alchemy. But due to fate, a trace of his remaining soul was reborn in the Yi family of the 8 Wilderness Ancient Domain, reviving his life. Mastering unparalleled alchemy, practicing supreme martial arts, killing all enemies in this lifetime, proclaiming oneself emperor through alchemy, and standing proudly for eternity. Chapter 1. Yi Han. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ba Huang Guyu, Yan Cheng, Yi family. Master, why did I do something wrong? Why did you seal me in the alchemy furnace and kill me so cruelly? In a secluded dilapidated courtyard overgrown with weeds, a ragged and dirty young man curled up and slept in a corner, his body trembling with fear like autumn leaves, beads of sweat rolling down, and his mouth murmuring incessantly. His bony neck was firmly locked by a thick and heavy black iron chain. Suddenly, Yi Han took a quick breath and woke up as if from a nightmare. He suddenly opened his eyes, and a memory fragment that seemed to come from ancient times kept flashing and merging in his mind. With the fusion of memories, his expression changed for a moment, sometimes shocked, sometimes angry, and sometimes confused. So this wasn't a nightmare, I was actually reborn again. After a while, Yi Han finally regained his senses and couldn't believe it. Yi Han. The youngest and most eye-catching genius alchemist in the former Sky Continent. He carried the Gaishidan body and at the age of only 18, he was awarded the title of the head of the 3 major Dan saints in the Sky Continent, causing a sensation. Later on, he was even adopted as a closed-door disciple by the first alchemist, Emperor Danwu, who was famous in the vast continent, and was taught alchemy all over. His master, the Danwu Emperor, is one of the 9 emperors in the heavenly continent and has a great reputation. However, Yi Han's expertise in alchemy is even more demonic than his master, Emperor Danwu. It is only a matter of time before he can surpass his master, the Danwu Emperor, with his innate talent and aptitude. However, Yi Han never expected that his most respected master would one day throw himself into the burning pill stove to be reborn and refined. He was sealed in the burning pill stove and burned mercilessly with the burning god fire for 100 years. Master, why are you so ruthless? At the thought of the unbearable feeling of being burned by divine fire for 100 years, Yi Han still had a suffocating tremble. He pleaded bitterly in the alchemy furnace, but in response, only the indifference of Emperor Danwu was resolute. He didn't understand why that kind master suddenly killed him so cruelly. However, at this moment, another memory surged into my heart. Xianwu 954. Yi Han's pupils suddenly contracted. Originally, after being reborn, it was already 500 years later. Gaishidan Danti. Yi Han's body trembled, his eyes were about to crack, and a familiar name flashed through his mind. 500 years ago, the Danwu Emperor has now been renamed as the revered Gaishidan Danti. Master, it turns out that you cruelly sealed me in the furnace, burned and tortured me for 100 years, to steal my body and eat my flesh and blood. Yi Han's eyes were crimson, and his voice suddenly became cold like a knife. His Gaishidan body is one of the 3 major Dan bodies that have long disappeared from the Sky Continent. His flesh and blood are excellent materials for refining legendary elixirs. And with this kind of elixir, there is a considerable chance in the future that one can enter an elixir realm that no one has ever reached before. Unexpectedly, Emperor Danwu took him as his disciple with all his heart in mind to seize his elixir body. His kind face was also put on. Danwu old dog, from the moment you threw me into the alchemy furnace, you are no longer my master. Fortunately, the heavens have eyes, allowing a strand of my soul to be revived for a lifetime. If I rise up in this life, I will also let you taste the pain of being burned by the alchemy furnace and destroying both my spirit and spirit. Yi Han's gaze flickered with a cold light, clenching his fists and secretly swearing. As a talented alchemist who surpassed the Danwu Emperor in his past life, even if he was knocked back to his starting point, Yi Han had the confidence to return to his peak, even surpassing the Danwu Emperor. After accepting the reality of a lifetime of hard work, Yi Han exhaled his turbid breath and looked down at his ragged self. How could it be so down and out? He touched the chain that locked his neck and couldn't help but frown. Through searching memory, it turned out that the owner of this physical body was also called Yi Han. Although unable to compare with his past life, the old master of this body is also extraordinary. He was the first darling of the Yi family in the 8 wilderness ancient domain. Born with superior spiritual meridians, at the age of only 16, he has already entered the 6th level of the Lingquan realm, which is enough to irrigate the entire flame city Tianzhou. Later, Yi Han was even more favored by the top sect of the Qingzhou in the 8 wilderness ancient domain. The elder of the Yunhai sect, and almost became a disciple. However, a year ago, Yi Han suffered a serious illness and his spiritual power suddenly became unusable. Yunhai sect, naturally returned the item. Yi Han's position in the Yi family has plummeted, and those who used to flatter him have given him a cold and sarcastic look. Over the past year, he has been chained up like a dog in this secluded and dilapidated courtyard, with no food to eat and no clothing to cover his body. I didn't expect him to be as pitiful as me. The Yi family is really deceiving people. Yi Han took a deep breath and a surge of anger surged in his heart. He held the iron chain in both hands, intending to tear it off, but found that his limbs were weak. Even, the Dantian is as dry and unable to extract any spiritual power. What's going on? Not right. Yi Han quickly urged his divine soul to explore the Dantian, and his face suddenly changed. Because he discovered that his Dantian had been frozen by a cold and yin energy. This is Xian-yin poison. In his past life, as a sage, Yi Han naturally had extensive knowledge. What he is suffering from is a kind of extremely yin poison. The Xian-yin cold poison. Because the cold and pitch-black air completely sealed the Dantian, it was impossible to use spiritual power. So malicious, using the mysterious and sinister poison to destroy my elixir field. Who was able to wield such a ruthless hand? Yi Han frowned inwardly, his cold voice emanating from beneath Joyo. Upon this thought, he immersed himself in the sea of souls and continued to search for chaotic memories. Soon, a gloomy face came to mind. Yi Tiange. The person who secretly dealt such a cruel blow to him is now the first pride of the Yi family. Originally, Yi Tiange was also praised by many stars and attracted widespread attention, even being considered as an heir by the family at one point. However, Yi Han gradually revealed a talent that was too demonic in his cultivation, replacing Yi Tiange's position. But Yi Tiange's father and son were ambitious and determined to seize control of the family, ultimately using such despicable means to harm him. This father-son and Danwu old dog are like birds of a feather. Recalling all of this, Yi Han's gaze became cold and his killing intent became particularly intense. He probed his body and sneered coldly, for this little Yi family, the Xianyin cold poison is almost an unsolvable poison. However, for me, it is nothing. Hiss, close your eyes slightly, and the Dharma moves. A blazing breath rushed into the Dantian, and in an instant, waves of cold poison were forced out of the body, transforming into white smoke that emerged from the heavenly spirit cover. Immediately after, the suppressed cultivation in the body unexpectedly skyrocketed at this moment. Boom! 7 levels of Lingquan realm. Boom! Lingquan Lingbachong. Boom! 9 levels of Lingquan realm. The majestic and vast spiritual power once again flows into all 4 limbs, nourishing the weak physical body. Yi Han grabbed the iron chain with both hands and pulled it hard again, and his spiritual power surged out of his body. With a loud bang, the thick iron chains suddenly broke and scattered all over the ground. The 9 levels of Lingquan realm are quite passable, isn't it? Yi Han Song loosened his muscles and bones, and his whole body crackled like a burst of beans. If this sentence were to be spread, the entire flame city would probably be so angry that many Tianjiao would vomit blood. On the journey of cultivation, one needs to open the spiritual spring, followed by the spiritual sea realm, spiritual soul realm, purple mansion realm, nirvana realm, and Taoist palace realm. Normal warriors only start their spiritual spring at the age of 16 or 17, while Yi Han, at this age, has already entered the 9th level spiritual spring, and is not far from the spiritual sea realm. At this age, entering the 9th level of the Lingquan realm, even the sects of the entire 8 wilderness ancient domain will be fiercely plundered. If I remember correctly, today happened to be the family meeting of the Yi family. Yi Tiange's father and son were ambitious and had the elders of the certain clan strip me of the position of young clan leader. However, I want to see if they have the ability and qualifications to do so. Yi Han took a deep breath, his gaze so deep that it seemed like a black hole that could devour everything. Now that he has become the owner of this physical body, the people who bullied him by the Yi family must pay a price. Chapter 2. Family Meetings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The ancient and bustling city of Yancheng is lined with aristocratic families and sections. The Yi family is one of the 4 major families in Yancheng and holds a crucial position. To the northwest of Yancheng lies a magnificent mansion. Yi Mansion. At this moment, over the 9 heavens, thunderclouds roll over the mansion. Sometimes a blazing electric current cuts through the sky, and the sound of thunder is deafening. Today is the family meeting of the Yi family. Countless disciples are gathering towards the center of a mansion, which is a wide and magnificent jade square. In no time, this huge jade square gathered thousands of disciples of the Yi family, and its momentum was also spectacular. These disciples seem to be discussing something with each word they say. Standing in the crowd, Yi Han changed into a clean and simple green robe, but it was very conspicuous. He has a slender and straight figure, with a finely carved face that appears sharp and angular, standing out among the crowd and exuding an extraordinary aura. Especially those deep and bright eyes, like the starry sky at night, have a maturity that does not match his age. Even though he knew that the young man in front of him had become a useless person, there were still many young girls from the tribe around who secretly cast a pair of admiring gazes. However, this naturally attracted jealousy and disgust from some male disciples within the clan. What's the use of being good-looking? He's just a useless person. After this family meeting, this guy will be deposed, right? A young man snorted coldly with disdainful eyes. A year ago, Yi Han was still the first arrogant person in the entire Yancheng, and was favored by Elder Yunhai. Now it's really a big difference. The other gray-robed boy had a strange and playful expression. Who made him so proud before, now he fell directly from the cloud into the mud, it's completely deserved. It's just a waste returned by Yunhaizong, it's a disgrace to my Yi family. What kind of bullshit is he? Damn it. A group of disciples around looked at Yi Han with a gloating expression on their faces. Yi Han's expression was indifferent, he had already seen through the coldness of human nature. For these sarcastic remarks, they are no longer surprising. However, when he was almost accepted as a disciple by the elder of the Yunhai sect, all the disciples in the clan showed great respect and flattery to him. Looking back now, it's really ironic. Look, Yi Tiange is here. Suddenly, a cry of surprise came from somewhere unknown. Everyone's gaze instantly shifted away from Yi Han and looked across from him. A path opened up in the crowd, and a young man with a jade-like face and a blue robe walked out step by step with a gust of wind, like a crowd of stars embracing the moon, causing an uproar. Hua, I heard that Yi Tiange had already broken through the Linghai realm last month. Looking at the entire Flame City, there are only a few peers who can compare with him. With Yi Tiange's talent for cultivation, he will definitely be accepted as a disciple by the Cloud Sea sect in the future. He is destined to be the 9 Heavens dragon. Compared to him, Yi Han can only be considered a crawling snake in the mud, one in the sky and one in the earth. The eyes of almost everyone in the entire Yi tribe were filled with admiration and admiration. Just because Yi Tiange is too eye-catching. Yi Han's hand was also secretly clenched at this moment, and his gaze showed a hint of killing intent. Everything that originally belonged to him was taken away by Yi Tiange using the most despicable means. What if I have a superior spiritual pulse? Haven't I stomped on my feet hard? Yi Tiange also saw Yi Han's figure at a glance in the crowd, but at this moment, his eyes were filled with contempt, as if looking at an inconspicuous ant under his feet, completely disdainful. Even a useless person deserves to be compared to him. Not long after, an elderly man with white hair and 3 others, one in front and one behind, climbed onto the highest stone platform in the square and looked down. Standing at the head was an elderly man with white hair, holding a scepter with a calm and majestic expression. And he is the elder of the Yi tribe. Yi Bailey, a strong person who has entered the spiritual realm. In addition to these elders, there is also a burly middle-aged man with a cold expression standing on one side like an iron tower. He exudes powerful spiritual fluctuations all over his body, second only to the elder in strength. This man, named Yi Tianbao. He is exactly Yi Tiange's father. Silence. Yi Bailey's majestic gaze swept over, and his voice was like thunder, full of pressure. In an instant, there was silence below, and the sound of needles falling could be heard. The family meeting was held today because 2 important things were announced. Yi Bailey's murky gaze suddenly turned to Yi Han in the crowd. His eyes were filled with endless indifference. The first thing is that from today on, Yi Han's position as the new leader of the Yi family will be officially abolished. After discussing with several elders, it has been finally decided that the new leader of the Yi family in the future will be held by Yi Tiange. That tone is majestic and ruthless. There wasn't much turbulence below, as the disciples had already guessed roughly. Yi Han remained expressionless and did not experience any emotional fluctuations due to the abolition. He is a noble and virtuous person, how could he covet the position of this bullshit young clan leader? It's simply ridiculous. But suddenly, Yi Bailey's cold and sharp gaze returned to Yi Han, his tone icy. Yi Han, you have become a useless person, and your spiritual veins are no longer useful. For the future of the Yi family, after my decision and several elders, we have taken out the superior spiritual veins from your body and grafted them onto Yi Tiange's body. What do you think? Upon hearing this sentence, Yi Han couldn't help but laugh. He still underestimated the shamelessness of the Yi family. You want my spiritual pulse? Why? Yi Han sneered and said, unexpectedly, the Yi family not only wanted to deprive the young master of his position, but also wanted to deprive him of his spiritual pulse. And once deprived of his spiritual pulse, he has a great chance of losing his life. However, the Yi family disregarded his life for the sake of the so-called family's future. Yi Han felt extremely cold. At this moment, Yi Tianba glared and rebuked, why? Just rely on my Yi family's hard work to cultivate you for more than 10 years, wasting more than 10 years of family resources. Yi Han, even a wild dog knows how to be grateful. This is the only opportunity you can make up for your family. Before Yi Han could argue, the second elder also slowly walked out, speaking earnestly. Yi Han, if you are willing to surrender your spiritual bloodline, the family will naturally not mistreat you. They will bestow you with an inheritance, allowing you to live the rest of your life in peace. But before the second elder could finish speaking, Yi Han's eyes turned crimson and he angrily said like a fierce beast, you shut up. Second elder, do you remember when you were trapped in the flame ruins? It was my father who fought hard to save you even though he was seriously injured. And now, you actually want to join them to seize my spiritual pulse. Yi Han's words are dripping with blood every word. The second elder shook his head and suddenly fell silent. But several elders were secretly staring at each other, and they had already made a decision. Even if Yi Han disagrees, they will still forcefully take action and deprive his spiritual veins. Because once Yi Tiange possesses the spiritual pulse, his future achievements will definitely be limitless. Maybe he will be directly admitted by Yunhai sect without exception. This concerns the interests of the entire Yi family. Yi Han, the family's interests outweigh the heavens. I hope you can understand. The elder still has a cold and indifferent face. Ha ha ha. Ignoring the danger of my life and taking my spiritual pulse, what a snobbish and ruthless Yi family. Yi Han couldn't help but laugh wildly, his gaze icy cold. He looked at Yi Tiange, who was sneering in the distance, and pointed to him, Yi Tiange, get out of here. Don't you want the spiritual pulse inside my body? Then I'll give you a chance. If you can defeat me, I'll destroy this spiritual pulse and even hand it over to you myself. Hiss, Yi Han wants to challenge Yi Tiange. Is he crazy? At this moment, thousands of disciples in the entire square stared wide, causing a commotion. Chapter 3. Shocking the whole clan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I didn't hear it wrong. This trash wants to challenge Yi Tiange. And he actually wants Tiange to roll down. What a big breath. At this moment, the entire square exploded like a pot, and countless members of the tribe were shocked. But their gaze was more of a joke and mockery. Yi Tiange, now you are the true dragon of the Yi family. And Yi Han is just a waste, a clown. Even a few elders were surprised when they heard this. They didn't understand whether Yi Han had gone crazy due to stimulation. Hee, does he really think he's still the former Tianjiao? A member of the clan couldn't help but sarcastically say. Nowadays, Yi Tiange has entered the realm of spiritual sea. Defeating Yi Han is no different from stepping on an ant. It is well known among the people that Yi Han is unable to use his spiritual power. However, he surprisingly challenged Yi Tiange beyond his means. Is this a trial on the brink of death? So everyone lifted their heads and looked at the young man standing high, shining like a bright moon. They want to see if Yi Tiange would choose to fight. However, at this moment, although there was no expression on Yi Tiange's face, the depths of his gaze were filled with playfulness and disdain. Now he is like a bright moon above the 9 heavens. And Yi Han, like grains of rice on the ground, how can he compete with him? Ha ha ha. Yi Han, you're so ridiculous. You deserve to challenge my brother, I'm afraid I'll dirty his hands. Suddenly, a contemptuous burst of laughter came over. Boom. A crimson spiritual power surged in like a raging wave, and a young man in a white robe landed on the field. The slate he stepped on with his feet ignited a faint flame. This young man in a white robe has a slender figure, in his early 20s, even half a head taller than Yi Han. His appearance is somewhat similar to that of Yi Tiange. However, there is a black scar on his left face, which looks a bit eerie. The crowd retreated with a loud roar, forming a huge circle that surrounded the two of them. Yi Tianwu. Shocking sounds echoed from all around. This young man in a white robe is Yi Tiange's half-brother, Yi Tianwu. Yi Han only glanced in his eyes and sensed the breath all over Yi Tianwu's body. 7 levels of Lingquan realm. Yi Han, if you are willing to take the initiative to release your spiritual pulse, I can save you a dog's life. Otherwise, on the martial arts stage, your fists and feet have no eyes. Even if I accidentally kill you, the clan cannot blame me. Yi Tianwu sneered. Yi Han naturally could hear that this speech was filled with a threatening aura. However, Yi Han's tone was indifferent. What are you? Humph, toast, don't eat, fine. Bang, Yi Tianwu's whole body trembled, and a fiery spiritual power surged out. A tiny crack was also shattered on the floor of his body with a click. Fire Spirit Fist. He gathered spiritual power with his fists, forming 2 flame cyclones, and hit them hard. Bang, 2 blazing gusts of wind rushed towards us, and Yi Han's figure easily avoided them like a ghost. Brush. The flame cyclone rushed into the air, and unexpectedly, Yi Han's figure swept away, leaving behind virtual shadows on the stone platform. Then, in an instant, he appeared on Yi Tianwu's left side, as if lightning was too fast to cover his ears. Yi Tianwu couldn't even react. Everyone's eyes suddenly widened. That figure, so fast that you can only see remnants one by one. Yi Han quickly lifted his whip leg and kicked Yi Tianwu fiercely in the abdomen. Bang, puzzy. This powerful kick fell heavily, producing a violent impact sound that echoed in everyone's ears. Yi Tianwu stared in terror like a copper bell, spewing out a mouthful of blood and falling to the ground like a sandbag. With a loud thud, his head fell heavily to the ground, shattering the floor. His blood-red teeth collided with each other and shattered the ground. At this moment, there was a dead silence. Everyone was momentarily confused. What did you say earlier? Yi Han walked over coldly with his hands down, and without hesitation, he fiercely stepped on Yi Wu's spine. Click. Ah! A mournful scream instantly brought the frozen expressions of the crowd back to their senses, causing them to shiver. Yi Tianwu, he has been deposed. He is the 7th level of Lingquan realm. Is that boy still a useless person who fell from the altar? Everyone swallowed their saliva and was stunned when they saw Yi Tianwu, who had been stomped on by Yi Han like a dead dog. They looked at Yi Han as if they had seen a dormant dragon in the abyss, with a stunning roar. Even the 7 layers of Lingquan realm are shouting at me, who gave you the courage? Yi Han sneered coldly, and then his breath spread around with a loud roar, shattering the floor. Hiss, is this the 9 elements of Lingquan realm? Elder Yi Bailey and several other elders were shocked as their pupils shrank. And Yi Tianga's face also changed dramatically at this moment, with an expression full of disbelief. Impossible. Yi Tianga clenched his fists and his face became grim. Yi Han has been poisoned by Xianin cold poison, which is almost an unsolvable poison. Even the elders and others are at a loss. However, Yi Han has not only detoxified himself, but his cultivation has even skyrocketed. 9 levels of Lingquan realm. Oh my god, isn't Yi Han even more demonic than Yi Tianga? On the square, the children of the Yi family took a deep breath and were completely dumbfounded. You should know, Yi Han is several years younger than Yi Tianga. At the same age, Yi Tianga is not as rebellious as Yi Han. This is the 9th level of the 17-year-old Lingquan realm. How did his cultivation recover? Yi Tianba frowned and his face was also gloomy. Yi Tianga, are you puzzled? You have clearly inflicted the extremely cold poison and mysterious Yin poison on me, why is it useless? Yi Han looked coldly at Yi Tianga, deliberately raising his voice. Wow! This sentence, like a heavy bomb, caused a greater sensation for the entire clan. I don't know, but Yi Han's cultivation has been ruined, and it turns out to be the mysterious Yin poison under Yi Tianga. This is too malicious, isn't it? Surrounded by constant discussions, it was incredibly jarring. Yi Tianga gritted his teeth, trying to calm his mind, and said in a deep voice, Yi Han, don't spit blood out. The two of them were in a fierce confrontation, and their swords immediately drew apart. Enough, that's it for the meeting. However, just as the two pointed their needles at the wheat on, the majestic cheers of the elder came out. He looked at Yi Han with a hint of admiration in his eyes, and then said, Yi Han, it is gratifying that you have regained your cultivation. However, it cannot be hastily concluded whether the Xianin poison was caused by Yi Tianga. In the future, you should serve the family. The matter of depriving the spiritual meridian before was not mentioned by us. He. Yi Han felt extremely sarcastic. When he had no cultivation, the Yi family disregarded safety and wanted to deprive him of his spiritual pulse. Now that he still has practical value, he has a new face. What a cold family interest. The elder just treated it as a chess piece. And he could see that the elder was deliberately protecting Yi Tianga. The second elder walked forward and looked down, saying, all right, there's another thing to announce today. This one is that we will decide to open the Wuda in 3 days. Hua, is it finally time to open the martial tower? I heard that the martial arts of my entire Yi family are hidden inside the Wuda, extremely precious. Suddenly, countless disciples had hot eyes and heated discussions. In no time, the meeting came to an end. At this moment, Yi Tiange slowly walked over and brushed past Yi Han. A gloomy voice came into Yi Han's ears, in 3 days' time, within the Wuda, you, Yi Han, will surely become my stepping stone. Yi Han turned around, his gaze sharp as a blade, and said, who is whose stepping stone, it's not certain yet. Chapter 4. Cangqiong Danti. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The conclusion of the family meeting did not calm the storm, but instead sparked heated discussions and uproar throughout the Yi family. Yi Han once fell heavily from the altar, enduring the cold ridicule of all members of the family. And now, he has returned once again, not only restoring his cultivation, but even leaping into the ninefold spirit spring realm. This was like a loud slap on the faces of all the members of the Yi family, scorching. At the age of 17, the ninefold spiritual spring realm has a talent that can be described as a demon. Countless people speculate that the return of Yi Han is likely to be a battle between dragons and tigers with Yi Tiange. Some people believe that Yi Han is a genius demon, and his rise is unstoppable. But some people believe that Yi Tiange has been cultivated by his family with all their resources and has now entered the realm of spiritual sea, with extraordinary talent. It may still be difficult for Yi Han to surpass him in a short period of time. However, during this period, there was another significant event that diverted the attention of all members of the tribe. That is, the Yi family will open the martial tower. This martial tower is where the Yi family's century-old heritage lies. It is said that there are countless spiritual scriptures hidden inside, and I don't know how many people of the tribe want to enter them by squeezing their heads. However, the Wuda is permanently banned, and only members of the clan who have made great contributions can enter. But this time opening the Wuda allows all members of the Yi family to enter and choose spiritual spells. After the meeting, Yi Han returned to the small dilapidated garden in the backyard. This courtyard is overgrown with weeds and desolate, looking very dilapidated, filled with the smell of decay and decay. When the breeze blows, the shadows of Wudong whirl. In front of a small house, a black cauldron was suspended in front of Yi Han. Puff! With a slight movement of his fingertips, a blazing flame flickered like a fiery snake, enveloping the entire cauldron and burning it. In no time, wisps of faint medicinal fragrance filled the cauldron. At this moment, Yi Han is fully focused on refining a pill. In his previous life, he was an alchemist at the level of a saint of alchemy, and refining pills was naturally a familiar skill. He skillfully controlled the flames with his palm, and his movements flowed smoothly like a stream. Even the most outstanding alchemists in the entire 8 wilderness ancient domain may feel inferior and greatly admire upon seeing such alchemy techniques. In no time, the flames slowly extinguished and the alchemy furnace fell to the ground with a clang. Yi Han walked over, opened the cauldron, and a steaming heat rushed towards him. He pinched a red pill out of the stove with his 2 fingers. This pill is called the non-scaling pill. Why isn't there any Dan pattern? Yi Han let out a light sigh, seeming dissatisfied. As a holy alchemist, even if you were to randomly refine a pill in your past life, there would inevitably be pill patterns and even various anomalies. However, the scale-free pill refined this time actually does not have any pill patterns. It seems that it's probably due to the flame. This flame is just a first-grade Dan fire, which is too far from my chaotic Dan fire. Yi Han sighed helplessly, saying that the chaotic divine fire he had in his past life was the Emperor's pill fire. Danhua is initially divided into grades 1 to 9, and above grade 9 are imperial, noble, and sacred. And the more advanced Dan fire than the holy product is the Emperor product Dan fire. Emperor Pin Dan Fire, also known as Emperor's Fire. Looking at the entire continent of the sky, there are only a few alchemists who possess the Imperial Pill Fire. Unfortunately, his chaotic divine fire was also taken away by Emperor Danwu. Well, although there hasn't been a pill pattern, this dirt-free pill is barely enough. However, Yi Han also shook his head helplessly. Nowadays, this body is too weak, and powerful pills can actually have a counterproductive effect. This scale-free pill is a second-grade pill. Swallowing it can wash away muscles and bones, completely eliminate impurities from the body, and cast a better foundation. He pondered for a moment, sat cross-legged on the ground, and threw the unclean pill into his mouth like a soybean. Shoo! The pill enters the body and instantly transforms into a fiery energy that blends into all four limbs. This force cleanses the dirt and residual toxins in the body like a clear spring, and then black sludge is discharged from the surface of the skin, emitting a foul odor. Half an hour later, Yi Han slowly opened his eyes and cleaned these black impurities. He stretched out his arm in a clear and invigorated manner, and his muscles and bones crackled like popping beans, as if they were unobstructed. He suddenly felt incredibly comfortable all over. It's so comfortable. At this moment, Yi Han seemed to feel that every pore of his body was breathing in the spiritual power of heaven and earth, and even his cultivation speed was much faster. At this speed, it's probably not long before he can surpass Yi Qinge. However, to surpass the Danwu Emperor, there are still 108,000 miles left. 500 years have passed, and Danwu Old Dog's strength and alchemy have become more advanced. It may not be so easy for me to surpass him. Yi Han sensed the power within his body, pondering silently and muttering. At this moment, he suddenly remembered that there was a superior spiritual pulse in this body. The so-called spiritual pulse refers to the birth of a spiritual root with magical power within the human body of cultivation. It is said that those who possess spiritual veins have a stronger talent for cultivation, and they will also obtain spiritual vein divine powers bestowed by spiritual veins. The spiritual pulse is divided into grades 1 to 9, and grades above grade 9 are imperial, sacred, and imperial. Only those with a 4th grade or higher spiritual pulse are considered superior. Throughout the 100 years of Yen City, there are only a few Tianjiao who possess superior spiritual veins. I don't know what level of spiritual pulse is inside my body. Yi Han was immediately curious, and he planned to carefully investigate the secret of this physical body. So he closed his eyes slightly and immersed his soul power into his body. Buzz! As expected, he discovered a pitch-black vortex near Dantian. The pitch-black vortex was emitting mysterious and powerful waves. What is this? Yi Han's pupils suddenly shrank, and he immediately looked puzzled. It seems that this is not a spiritual pulse, right? Buzzing, just as he was puzzled, suddenly the black vortex continued to expand, and then the entire Dantian was swallowed up. Yi Han's face changed dramatically, as the black vortex was still expanding and devouring his divine soul and little man Boom. With a loud bang, in a daze, Yi Han seemed to see the vortex tearing apart and transforming into a black world inside him. An ancient heaven and earth slowly formed within him. That world is like a universe, with twinkling stars in it. This. Yi Han's soul stood in the pitch-black star field, like a drop in the ocean, extremely small. Even though Yi Han, as a Danqing in his past life, had seen many worlds, his face had changed greatly in shock at this scene. He suddenly remembered something, his eyes changed for a moment, and he murmured, I heard that Danwu Old Dog seems to have said that there are 3 strongest Dan bodies in this world. In addition to my Chaos Dan body, there is also a Dan body called Cangqiong Dan body. It is said that this Dan body will give birth to a world Dan furnace that can devour the Dan field. Is it? Yi Han suddenly widened his pupils, and there was already a vague speculation in his heart. Originally, what was hidden within this body was not some superior spiritual pulse. What is hidden inside his body is the heavenly sky Dan body, the head of the three major Dan bodies. It is said that the strength of this heavenly sky pill body lies in its ability to evolve the elixir field into a universe, but this is not the real universe, but the elixir furnace. If the elixir body is cultivated to its fullest extent over time, it can even refine divine elixirs beyond the imperial level within the body. Ordinary people need an alchemy furnace to refine pills, and the world inside Yihan's body is the alchemy furnace, which can refine the legendary divine pill. Ha ha ha. Is this fate? Danwu old dog, just wash your neck and wait. Now I truly have the capital to compete with you. Don't worry, one day I will pull you down from the altar and stomp on my feet, leaving you forever doomed. Yihan's gaze ignited the flames of revenge and he clenched his fists tightly. Although he lost the chaos pill body, he obtained a more powerful sky pill body than the chaos pill body. Chapter 5. Heavenly Lion's Broken Gold Roar. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yihan was immersed in ecstasy. He did not expect that by chance, he would become the master of the heavenly pill body. The vast world is full of various magical constitutions. And between heaven and earth, there are three elixirs that have long disappeared. Chaos pill body, medicine god pill body, Cangqiong pill body. And the celestial pill body ranks first among these three types of pills. It is said that alchemists who possess this type of alchemy body can not only rapidly and effectively improve their alchemy skills, but even refine pills with much higher quality and efficacy than ordinary alchemists. Even the birth of Dan patterns or even Dan clouds from the refined pills is an easy task. This is the magic of Danti. Of course, the Cangqiong Dan body is infinitely mysterious, and it will take some time for Yihan to slowly comprehend. There are still 2 days left when the Yi family will open the Martial Tower. At that time, Yi Tiange will definitely find various ways to deal with me. In no time, Yihan slowly regained his senses, with an imperceptible glint in his eyes. It's not that he's afraid of Yi Tiange, but rather that he's not sure if this guy has any despicable means. So, he must break through the Spirit Sea realm as soon as possible before the Wuda opens, and increase his chances of winning. As a Danqing in my past life, if I wanted to improve my own strength, it would naturally be easy. To break through the Linghai realm within 2 days, all you need to do is refine a third-grade pill. Lingxian pill. Although Lingxian pill is not a rare pill, I don't know if I can gather all the medicinal herbs in this bullet city. Yihan furrowed his brows and said with some worry. After all, the medicinal materials used to refine Lingxian Dan are relatively obscure. The only place in the entire Flame City where medicinal herbs can be purchased is the Tianyinfang city controlled by the Lord's Mansion. However, as night falls, we can only wait until tomorrow to visit the local market and see if we can gather all the medicinal herbs. Upon this thought, Yihan exhaled his turbid breath and closed his eyes to practice again. Until late at night, a full moon hung high in the sky. In the dilapidated courtyard, a figure tightly closed its eyes and crossed its knees. He breathed and breathed like a cycle of heaven, and his spiritual power converged towards his dantian. If you observe carefully, you can see that the dantian is like a starry abyss, with colorful starlight inside, as if it is a magnificent universe. As spiritual power flowed into all 4 limbs, Yihan's aura gradually became more powerful. On the 2nd day, the scorching sun was scorching. The scorching sun poured down from the sky, causing the entire burning city to be in a state of steam. Within the city, willows hang their branches and leaves, looking listless and lethargic. Yihan prepared a carriage and went to Tianyinfang city early to search for medicinal herbs. Tianyinfang city is located in the center of Yancheng, and it is also the busiest place in the entire city. The materials that need to be traded throughout the entire city, such as medicinal herbs, martial arts, weapons, etc., can all be traded in Tianyinfang city. So, Tianyinfang city is bustling with traffic and people coming and going almost every day. Cluck 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 cluck, a carriage rushed over. Sigh, young master, Tianyanfang City has arrived. A servant bowed slightly, and Yi Han casually rewarded a bag of spirit stones before getting off the car. Is this Tianyanfang City? Yi Han looked ahead and was slightly surprised. Tianyanfang City was much more prosperous than he had imagined. The street is lined with stalls on both sides, with no end in sight. Pedestrians continue to flow in an endless stream, with shouting and bargaining voices echoing one after another. Here we go, there's a big discount on the Zhuge Dan. You only need 500 spirit stones for one. Second grade spirit technique splitting mountain fist, only selling 800 spirit stones, don't miss it. The second grade spiritual weapon, the heavenly Xian spirit sword, can cut iron like mud, as long as 700 spirit stones. Entering the neighborhood market, some vendors were shouting at the top of their voices, spitting profusely. On this day, although Yanfang City was rudimentary, it was filled with a wide variety of items and everything. Yi Han glanced roughly at the booth and couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Maybe he can really gather those 17 medicinal herbs here. So he walked and stopped, his gaze searching between the major stalls. Soon, the first medicinal herb needed was discovered. How do you sell this dew grass? Yi Han placed a purple herb in his palm, first observed its appearance, and then sniffed it with his nose. The old man at the stall glanced at Yi Han and saw that he was young, so he smiled with yellow teeth on his face. This condensate grass has a medicinal age of 500 years, a rich aroma, fresh medicinal materials, and well-preserved medicinal properties. It requires 800 spirit stones. Upon hearing this, Yi Han shook his head and said, Your condensate grass has a good appearance and retains at least 80% of its medicinal properties, but its medicinal age definitely does not exceed 300 years. You have such good eyesight. It seems that I have met an expert. The old man's expression showed a hint of surprise, not expecting Yi Han, who was young, to be able to tell the age of the medicinal herbs at a glance. And being able to taste the year of medicinal herbs by smelling their scent is not something that ordinary alchemists can do. 400 spirit stones. Yi Han immediately extended 4 fingers and said in a deep voice. Deal. Since the other party is an expert, the old man can only readily agree. This first medicinal herb, condensed dew grass, has successfully been included in the bag. After leaving the stall, Yi Han wandered to an area dedicated to selling medicinal herbs. In this area, more medicinal treasures are gathered, and precious medicinal plants on the stalls emit spiritual light and a strong aroma. Looking away, there are also many alchemists nearby who are selecting elixirs. In this area, Yi Han bought over a dozen medicinal herbs such as thick earth mushroom, active chi fruit, and purple orchid leaf grass needed to refine Lingxian Dan. However, only the last 2 medicinal herbs, Shigu Hua and Qingmu Guadan, have been missing for a long time. These 2 medicinal herbs are somewhat uncommon. Just as Yi Han was searching for the last 2 precious medicinal herbs, his gaze was suddenly deeply attracted by the items on a stall. On the stall, there is a piece of animal bone placed, which emits spiritual light and is as white as jade. Countless people were gathered around, and they were also curiously gazing at this beast bone. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to hunt down this heavenly Xian mad lion in the later stage of the spirit sea realm, our martial arts family has lost a lot of elite soldiers and horses this time. And this piece of animal bone must contain a spiritual technique of the heavenly Xian mad lion. A burly man said in a deep voice. Wow! The heavenly Xian mad lion in the Linghai realm. This beast bone spiritual technique is probably at least of the 5th or even 6th grade level. Suddenly, there was a commotion around, and the eyes of many warriors were filled with a fiery expression. Yi Han also stopped his pace and became enthusiastic. The animal bones on the spirit beasts in this world have a certain chance of giving birth to spiritual spells, and their power is no less than the spiritual spells possessed by some families or sections. The higher the level of spiritual beasts, the higher the level of spiritual techniques. Yi Han could tell at a glance that the spiritual beast treasure technique hidden in this beast bone was not an ordinary martial arts. I have produced 1,000 spirit stones. An elderly man with white hair has a hoarse voice. My Lin family pays 1,002. A young man raised his hand. 13,000. 1,004. Not long after, the surrounding area of this animal bone sparked a frenzy of people and horses from all sides. 2,000 at this moment, Yi Han also suddenly raised his hand. In an instant, everyone's gaze converged on him. However, the price of 2,000 spirit stones is also considered a very high price. Although in the days when he fell from the altar and became a useless person, the Yi family almost interrupted his cultivation resources. But in the years when Yi Han emerged, he secretly accumulated a lot of spirit stones, so he didn't need any money. There was a moment of silence around, but no one offered a higher price. This piece of animal bone ultimately fell into the hands of Yi Han. I don't know what spiritual spells are inside. After obtaining the animal bone, Yi Han searched for a secluded place and planned to open it. Buzz! The spiritual power of his fingertips pierced through the animal bone, and suddenly the talisman light burst out, shooting a beam of light from the animal bone. Whoosh! The light shone into Yi Han's eyebrows and instantly transformed into countless mysterious words in his mind. Roar, heavenly lion's broken gold roar, an ancient lion roar came out, and at this moment, several golden characters came to mind. It's actually a 7th level spiritual skill. Yi Han was momentarily taken aback, then his expression was pleasantly surprised. Moreover, this heavenly lion broken gold roar is an extremely special and rare sound wave type spiritual technique. Chapter 6. Alchemists Guild. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Surprisingly, it's a 7th level spiritual skill. Yi Han felt the information hidden in his brain and couldn't help but look surprised. This spiritual technique is called the Heavenly Lion Broken Gold Roar. It is not only a 7th grade spiritual technique, but also an extremely rare sound wave spiritual technique. So, in terms of value, it is probably comparable to the 8th grade spiritual technique. The spiritual arts in the world are initially divided into levels 1 to 9, and above level 9 are mystical arts, heavenly mystical arts, Taoist palace arts, divine powers, supreme arts, and so on. You should know that even if the 7th grade spiritual technique is placed in the Yi family, it is considered a rare and superior spiritual technique. The value of this 7th grade spiritual skill is at least around 8,000 spirit stones. I really made a lot of money. Yi Han touched the animal bone in his palm, and the corner of his mouth slightly raised. Although he was a holy alchemist in his past life, in just 20 years, he was almost completely immersed in alchemy, neglecting martial arts cultivation, to the extent that in his memory, apart from countless alchemy formulas and techniques, he had not even explored a decent spiritual technique. And in this life, he naturally understands even more the importance of possessing powerful power. He not only wants to conquer the Dan god, but also wants to surpass the Dan Wu emperor in martial arts cultivation. With such thoughts in mind, Yi Han gladly put the animal bones into the Cangqiong bag and continued to search for the remaining medicinal herbs. Unknowingly, several hours have passed. Refining the 3rd grade elixir Ling Xian Dan requires a total of 17 medicinal herbs, and after several hours of searching, he has found 15 of them. However, only a single bone-washing herb and a single greenwood turtle vine are nowhere to be found. These 2 medicinal herbs are relatively rare and precious. But hard work pays off for those who are willing. After patient searching, Yi Han finally discovered the 16th medicinal herb. Bone-washing herb. In a secluded corner not far away, there is a shabby stall. And the precious bone-washing grass is actually placed in such an inconspicuous corner. The seller of medicinal herbs is an elderly man who looks as skinny as a stick and dresses in a messy manner. Second-level alchemist Yi Han just glanced and saw the identity of this messy old man. The old man has the fragrance of pills left by years of alchemy, and the highest level pill among them has the scent of Tianxian pill. That is to say, the second-grade advanced pill. In other words, this messy old man is at least a second-level high-level alchemist. Yi Han strode forward and politely asked, "What is the price of this bone-washing herb?" The scruffy old man stretched lazily and yawned lazily, then smiled and said, "Young people, those who can use the medicinal herb bone-washing grass are at least a high-level alchemist. I believe you should also know the rarity of this bone-washing grass. Apart from me, you can't find a second plant on the exchange." His words naturally meant to demonstrate that the selling price of this bone-washing plant is definitely not low. "Tell me, I can afford it." Yi Han was also cheerful and didn't want to waste time bargaining. 4,000 top-grade spirit stones. The scruffy old man extended 3 fingers. 4,000. Upon hearing this, Yi Han frowned, seeming somewhat displeased. This price is obviously a bit high, but it's already quite difficult to find this bone-washing plant. After pondering for a moment, he nodded and said, "Okay, I'll take it." However, just as the two were delivering the goods, a fragrant breeze suddenly struck from behind Yi Han. "Found it, bone-wash grass." I saw a woman in red clothes, who looked about 17 or 18 years old, walking over. This girl has a watery and agile appearance, and her skin can be easily broken by a blow. A delicate melon-seed face, beautifully set. She has a slender figure, a slender waist like a willow, and stands tall and graceful. Although it hasn't fully grown yet, it can already be seen that it is a beautiful embryo. "Hey, old man, I'll take this bone-washing plant. Can you give me a price quickly?" The girl casually pointed to the bone-washing grass. Unfortunately, this young man has already bought this bone-washing herb first. The scruffy old man pointed to Yi Han and said. "He." The girl in red glanced at Yi Han, who looked wealthy and generous, and said like a proud peacock, "Wasn't bone-washing grass still on the booth? I'm offering it 5 times higher than him." This. The old man looked apologetically at Yi Han, intending to hand over the bone-washing grass but couldn't help but retract it. Seeing the woman in red so rude and unreasonable, Yi Han's face darkened and his tone became indifferent. "First come, second served. Since I have already bought this bone-washing herb, you'd better find another one." Unexpectedly, Yi Han's words seemed to anger the woman in red. She frowned and said coldly, "What kind of thing are you, teaching me a lesson? Don't you know that my master is the Zhuge master of the Alchemy Guild?" "What, Master Zhuge?" The scruffy old man's eyes suddenly lit up, and he carefully looked at the girl before exclaiming in surprise, "Are you the most outstanding genius alchemist in the entire Flame City, Lu Qingtan?" The girl in red was very satisfied with this tone and nodded arrogantly. Lu Qingtan, a disciple of Master Zhuge, a third-rank high-level alchemist in the Alchemists Guild, was already promoted to second-rank alchemist at the age of only 16. Even ordinary spiritual sea-realm experts may not dare to easily offend her. But just as second-level alchemist, he has a pretty big temper. Yi Han's face was indifferent and his tone was plain. "What a big breath." Lu Qingtan was extremely angry and laughed back. As a 16-year-old second-grade alchemist, his talent could be considered at the level of a demon. However, in Yi Han's mouth, he only received a superficial evaluation. In Yi Han's eyes, the 16-year-old second-grade alchemist was indeed ordinary. After all, when he was 16 years old, he had already won the Dan Emperor and caused a sensation in the world. "Old man, I'll offer you 7 times the price and sell me the bone-washing herb." Those who are short-sighted, buying such medicinal herbs would be a waste. Lu Qingtan refused to give up and raised the price again. Sigh. The scruffy old man's face was a bit embarrassed. "Okay, I'll use a roll of third-grade elixir as an exchange. Would you like to exchange it or not?" Yi Han took out an ancient scroll from his sleeve and handed it over. The old man quickly opened the scroll and saw that his eyes were bursting with excitement. That's it, it's a deal. Are you crazy? Your third-grade elixir must have been stolen, right? Lu Qin bit her sandalwood silver teeth and stomped her feet in anger. This is a precious third-grade prescription. Even the value of 100 bone-washing herbs cannot be compared to a third-grade prescription. Is it related to you? Yi Han put away the bone-washing grass and didn't forget to brush the willow-green sandalwood on his diaphragm. As a Danxing in his past life, what he didn't lack the most was Danfang. Okay, you wait for me. Lu Qingtan was furious and turned around, walking away in a disheveled manner. Uncle, I still need a medicinal herb called Qingmu Guading. Do you have it? Yi Han looked at the vendor again and took the opportunity to inquire. Qingmu turtle vine. This is a precious medicinal herb that reaches the 4th grade. The entire Flame City is probably only available in the Alchemists Guild. The scruffy old man finished speaking, afraid that Yi Han would regret taking back the 3rd-grade prescription. He immediately rolled up his stall and ran away without a trace. Alchemists Guild. In the memory of this physical body, Yi Han learned about the information of the Alchemist Guild. The most prestigious power organization in the entire Flame City is not a few major families, nor is it the Lord's Mansion, but the Alchemists Guild. Only alchemists with exceptional talent are eligible to join the Alchemist Guild. Previously, Lu Qingtan studied under Master Zhuge and held a high position in the Alchemists Guild. Even the Lord of the Flame City must show great respect to the alchemists of the Alchemists Guild. Yi Han pondered for a moment, and had to go for the last medicinal herb. However, it's best not to encounter the rude Lu Qingtan again, otherwise there may be some twists and turns on this trip. Chapter 7. Master Zhuge. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yancheng, Alchemy Square. This Jade Square is a place where disciples of the Alchemists Guild specialize in alchemy. Puff. 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 A series of blazing flames rose up and rolled in the alchemy furnace, transforming into rolling heat waves spreading around. On this spacious square, hundreds of alchemists are currently enthusiastically refining elixirs, attracting many people around to stop and watch, marveling in amazement. The entire square was filled with a fragrance of Dan in an instant. Bang! However, occasionally the sound of a furnace exploding could be heard around, and some disheveled disciples rushed out of the flames, being sternly scolded by the elders. Today, in addition to the disciples of the Alchemists Guild, there are also countless warriors and alchemists gathered here in the entire Flame City. In the central area of the alchemy field, it is a magnificent area with thousands of people forming a large circle. There are 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside, making it unobstructed and spectacular. They seemed to be observing something with great interest, and their voices of discussion were incessant. Located in the center of the circle, there is a black stone platform 3 meters high. On the stone platform stood an old man with white hair, dressed in a black robe, looking serious and smiling, with a wrinkled face. In front of him was a vermilion-red alchemy stove with a divine bird pattern. This old man is the elder of the Alchemists Guild. Master Zhuge. He, I heard that this is Master Zhuge's first public alchemy, and now we can have a feast for our eyes. Master Zhuge's alchemist is extraordinary, and it's fortunate to witness his old man publicly alchemy once in his life. A onlooker worshipped and said, the reason why this place is surrounded by water today is because this Zhuge master wants to publicly refine alchemy. I heard that Master Zhuge has been a 3rd-grade alchemist for many years, and he is only 1 step away from a 4th-grade alchemist. Apart from the president, no one in the entire Flame City can match him. If we can understand his exquisite alchemy, we can also benefit immensely. Everyone agreed one after another. Master Zhuge is so famous because he is a 3rd-grade high-level alchemist. Looking at the entire Flame City, Master Zhuge's alchemy level is enough to rank in the top 3. His disciple Lu Qingtan is even more remarkable. At the age of only 17, he has already entered the second-level alchemist. If given time, surpassing the president is probably not a problem. Everyone looked around and saw a woman in red standing next to Master Zhuge. She was like a starry moon, like a proud peacock, and now she has become one of the focal points of the entire audience. Is he Master Zhuge? In the crowd, Yi Han didn't know when he arrived here. He gazed at the master and disciple on the stone platform, his lips slightly raised, just to witness the level of the top alchemist in this flame city. I hope Master Zhuge doesn't disappoint me. As time goes by, more and more people gather on the square. Everyone, in order to witness the charm of Master Zhuge, was also in high spirits and their eyes were filled with anticipation. And among them, there are also some alchemists who come specifically to admire and learn, hoping to gain some tips from Master Zhuge's alchemy. Qingtan, take out the medicinal herbs. Master Zhuge said with a serious expression and a serious expression. Yes, Master. Lu Qingtan nodded and then lightly waved his jade hand. He saw hundreds of medicinal herbs emitting various spiritual lights and fragrant aromas landing on the stone platform in front of him. San Pin Dan Yao, Yen Ling Dan, Yi Han's gaze swept roughly, only glancing at the medicinal herbs on the stone platform. He already knew what pill Master Zhuge wanted to refine. Puff. Master Zhuge's palm was filled with flames, swimming like a fire snake in his palm. Hua, oh my goodness, what an exquisite fire control technique. I feel inferior to myself, truly worthy of being Master Zhuge. Suddenly, waves of amazement erupted below, like a mountain collapsing into the sea. However, Yi Han frowned, as if somewhat disappointed. This fire control technique is slightly rough. Master Zhuge wrapped his palm in spiritual power, wrapped the medicinal herbs in flames, and entered the cauldron. At this moment, the cauldron floated up, and then a strong soul power roared out, pouring into the alchemy along with the flames, extracting the elixir. At this moment, Master Zhuge is completely immersed in alchemy, isolated from the outside world. He constantly changes his alchemy techniques, to a dazzling extent that is breathtaking. Boom! Suddenly, the flames surged and rubbed against the sky. The entire alchemy furnace rises up to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Then, the alchemy furnace continued to rotate, and at the same time, the spirit of Master Zhuge was also blending the alchemy. Oh my God! What a God! This kind of alchemy has already entered the hall. I truly deserve to be the third-grade alchemist of the Alchemists Guild. Everyone praised this alchemy one after another. It is truly amazing and indescribable. The process of alchemy flows like clouds, which is breathtaking and admirable. Banging finally, a few hours later, the alchemy furnace landed. Flame spirit pill, it's done. But everyone is still immersed in that superb alchemy, still unsatisfied. Buzzing, the lid of the alchemy furnace was opened, and a hot wave of spiritual power surged in all directions. A round reddish-red pill slowly rises in suspension. Third-grade advanced pill. Flame spirit pill. Countless people were in a frenzy, amazed for several minutes before slowly calming down. And just as everyone calmed down, a sudden voice came out, the fire control technique is slightly lacking, and the soul power palm is not yet effortless. The alchemy techniques are also a bit rough. Otherwise, this flame spirit pill should be able to produce Dan patterns, which is a pity. Hiss, who is talking nonsense? Everyone was suddenly startled and their eyes were searching everywhere. This sentence was not only heard by the onlookers around, but also by Master Zhuge, who had a powerful soul. Junior, what did you just say? Master Zhuge's gaze turned to Yi Han, and his tone was somewhat unfriendly. Yi Han calmly stepped into the circle, and in an instant, his gaze converged towards him. Is it him? On the side, when Lu Qingtan saw Yi Han's face, Rongduan was also so angry that he bit his silver teeth. Yi Han arched his hand slightly towards Master Zhuge, speaking indifferently. Although Master Zhuge refined the third-grade elixir, Flame Spirit Pill, his fire control technique was inferior, his alchemy techniques were rough, and his soul power was not well controlled. Hush! Who is this kid? He dares to point fingers at Master Zhuge's alchemy. In an instant, there was a commotion around, and the other alchemists felt angry. Master Zhuge's alchemy is so superb, yet he is praised by the young man in front of him like this. The alchemy technique is a bit rough. Soul power control, insufficient. These words are simply unbearable. This statement is like a stone stirring up 1,000 waves, causing the anger of countless alchemists. Isn't he Yi Han? He was the first genius of Yanqing back then, but unfortunately he was defeated. So it's him. Listening to the voices around him, Master Zhuge's gaze also showed a hint of contempt. It turned out that he was being pointed at by a useless person. Where did the wild dog come from? Dare to criticize my master and his elders. Lu Qingtan's phoenix eyes looked sharply and angrily rebuked. Can any cat or dog point fingers at a third-grade senior alchemist? Yi Han seemed to say it intentionally, his eyes flashing with brilliance, and he said in a deep voice, "If you don't believe me, why don't I spar with Master Zhuge? But if I win, I need to get something." Hua, I didn't hear it wrong, did I? He wants to challenge Master Zhuge. Below, the pot exploded in an instant. Chapter 8. Fire Dragon Spits Beads. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hua, did I hear you wrong? He actually wants to challenge Master Zhuge. The entire square of Nuada was like a boiling pot, and the sound of shock around it couldn't stop. Young people nowadays really don't know the vastness of heaven and earth. Master Zhuge is not only highly respected, but also one of the top alchemists in the entire Flame City. He actually wants to compete with him in alchemy, which is a bit too ignorant. A thunderous old man couldn't help but sneer. Just a clown trying to please the public. Who wouldn't know that Master Zhuge's alchemist is so skilled that this young man dares to challenge Master Zhuge even if his hair hasn't grown properly? A beautiful woman pursed her lips and snorted coldly. Around, the others nodded in agreement. Who is Master Zhuge? This is one of the top 3 high-level alchemists in the entire Flame City. Do you also deserve to compete with my master as an alchemist? Even Lu Qingtan was taken aback, showing a look of disgust. Because she didn't expect Yi Han's breath to be so strong that he would compete with his master to test his alchemy. This is no different from fireflies competing with the bright moon, there is no comparability at all. And she looked up and down at Yi Han with disdain, this guy is the same age as her. Because Lu Qingtan is born with a spiritual pulse of the alchemy path, he has a unique talent for alchemy. However, even so, at the age of 17, she is only a second-level intermediate-level alchemist. Despite her exceptional talent, Lu Qingtan dare not say that she will enter the ranks of third-rank high-level alchemists within 5 years. The young man in front of her could never surpass her, let alone compete with her master in alchemy. Yi Han turned a blind eye to the sighing sounds around him. In his eyes, a mere third-grade alchemist is simply not worth mentioning. Even if he were to rebuild this life, it would be easy for him to surpass a third-grade alchemist. Young man, are you insulting me? Master Zhuge became somewhat angry and raised his white eyebrows. Being challenged by a younger generation is definitely a huge insult for him. Yi Han shook his head secretly, no wonder Lu Qingtan was so arrogant, and he was simply carved from the same mold as his master. However, he was not angry at the moment. Instead, he took out a scroll from his Cangqiong bag and smiled faintly, well, I happen to have a third-grade elixir here, so I'll bet on it. If the master wins, I'll give you this elixir. But if I'm lucky enough to win, I want a medicinal herb. Qingmu Guidong, how about that? As a Dan Sheng in his past life, He collected a large number of Dan formulas in his soul sea. And a mere roll of the third-grade elixir can naturally be easily taken out. These 3-grade elixirs are worthless to Yi Han, but for Master Zhuge, they are precious treasures. Master Zhuge's divine soul immersed itself in the elixir. At first, he had some doubts, but in an instant, his turbid gaze burst into a brilliant light, and he exclaimed excitedly, "Okay, let me have a sparring with you for now. However, in order to make you score 3 points, you will determine the elixir for this competition. Just like the 9-yuan pill." Yi Han looked straight at Master Zhuge and said, 9-yuan pill. Master Zhuge frowned and felt a wave of doubt in his heart. This 9-yuan pill is not only a third-grade advanced pill, but also a highly difficult pill to refine. Even he is only 60% certain. Master Zhuge didn't understand why Yi Han chose such a difficult pill. But Master Zhuge nodded and agreed, nodding his head, "Okay, then let's try the 9-yuan pill." After speaking, Master Zhuge asked Lu Qingtan to bring 2 medicinal herbs and start refining pills. Wait. At this moment, Yi Han turned around and looked at the crowd, scanning his eyes and asking, "Can someone lend me a third-grade elixir fire?" "Hua, what did he say? Borrowing Dan fire? Ha ha ha. I'm laughing to death. This kid doesn't even have the elixir fire, he's still here pretending to refine third-grade elixirs. If the alchemist were so easy to do, I would have been the Dan Emperor long ago. It's really embarrassing." The crowd around was first startled and then overwhelmed by a wave of mockery and ridicule. There is no alchemist who doesn't even have the elixir fire. Yi Han was indeed somewhat helpless, because he only had a first-grade Dan fire in his hand. "Elder Cangqiong, lend him your third-rank treasure fire, Flame Lion fire." Master Zhuge sneered coldly with a cold face, his inner laughter even greater. However, he was secretly happy in his heart. Did this kid have a crazy idea and insist on coming over to give him a third-grade elixir? This treasure delivered to the door, he naturally didn't hesitate. "Young man, you have to be careful. The fierce lion fire of this old man is extremely fierce. Don't be burned by this flame." Elder Cangqiong's tone was somewhat sinister. A true third-grade alchemist cannot even have a third-grade alchemy fire. After speaking, a brown flame fell into the furnace. Ha, 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 after receiving the flames, the two stood side by side and began refining the 9-yuan pill. Buzz. It has to be said that Master Zhuge's alchemy is indeed remarkable. With a wave of his sleeve robe, the medicinal herbs were sent into the alchemy furnace, and then the flames lifted the furnace to burn wildly. Soul power surged in, exuding the demeanor of an alchemy master. This refining process does not drag any mud or water. Quickly, after extracting a batch of medicinal herbs, Master Zhuge began to extract the second batch of medicinal herbs. Surrounded by the audience, they were amazed and couldn't even blink their eyes, afraid of missing something. Bang! On the other hand, Yi Han casually threw all the medicinal herbs into the furnace. Hoo hoo hoo! Unexpectedly, the raging flames enveloped the entire cauldron and burned it fiercely. Look, what is that kid doing? Ha ha ha! This is not alchemy, isn't it? Stewing medicinal herbs. If he can refine the 9-yuan pill, I'll eat a pound of shit right away. Pointing around, laughter could be heard from time to time. Because Yi Han rudely stuffed all the medicinal herbs into the alchemy furnace and then burned them wildly with the alchemy fire, it's really ridiculous. What a fool. You've wasted precious medicinal herbs. Elder Cangqiong couldn't help but curse angrily, blowing his beard and glaring. There is no such alchemy. Refining the 9-yuan pill requires 3 batches of extraction, and it requires slow and fine quenching. A slight mistake can cause the alchemy furnace to explode. And Yi Han's alchemy methods are so crude that such a large flame will burn away the medicinal properties of the medicinal herbs. Do you really think alchemists stew vegetables? Lu Qingtan's eyes were even more sarcastic, and she secretly thought to herself that this kid is indeed a half bucket of water with no standard. Despite constant booing from the surroundings, Yi Han still maintained a fierce fire burning the alchemy, not distracted by the sneers around him. Because this time he is using a unique alchemy technique that comes with the sky pill body. This technique is called fire dragon spitting beads. The flames are like dragons, and the alchemy furnace wrapped inside is its pearl. Only when the control of soul power is extremely exquisite can it be achieved. Nowadays, in the scorching furnace, a massive divine soul is simultaneously extracting 3 batches of medicinal liquid. Time passed by bit, and 4 hours passed. Suddenly, Master Zhuge waved his sleeve and robe. Bang! The flame extinguished. The top of the furnace fell on the stone platform. He was sweating profusely and panting heavily, because refining this 9 yuan pill required too much energy. I have already refined it. After speaking, Master Zhuge calmly lifted the furnace lid. Buzz! A burst of spiritual light, a fragrance surged out, and a round brown pill suspended. Master Zhuge's alchemy is truly reaching the pinnacle of perfection, so refined. Hee, that kid is still stewing medicinal herbs. While marveling at Master Zhuge, everyone's gaze converged on Yi Han, with a series of cold smiles. Master Zhuge remained expressionless and silent, making it impossible to refine the 9 yuan pill. Without any accidents, the medicinal herbs in the furnace have already been burnt. In no time, Yi Han lifted his eyelids and slowly said, "My 9 yuan pill has also become." Banging. Just as this sound landed, the alchemy furnace shook violently, as if a wave of energy was rushing out from the inside out. Roar! Immediately after, an ancient dragon chant came out, and flames condensed into a fiery dragon. In the mouth of the dragon, the bright red alchemy furnace was suspended inside. This scene is like a dragon spitting pearls. There seems to be a strong wave of elixirs in the mouth of the fire dragon. Impossible. Master Zhuge's face changed as he used this method to refine pills. It was absolutely impossible to obtain them. However, bang. Buzzing, the furnace lid opened, emitting a dazzling light, and a pill slowly spewed out from the dragon's mouth. In the next moment, everyone's pupils suddenly shrank. Oh my God, Dan pattern. Chapter 9. Guidance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. That's Dan pattern. Oh my goodness, I was fortunate enough to witness a spiritual pill pattern that gave birth to a pill pattern. This sound made Master Zhuge and others instantly turn their gaze to the 9 yuan pill suspended in front of Yi Han. In an instant, there was a dead silence on the square. Everyone stared wide-eyed, even too grand to take a breath on the round pill. Clear vermilion patterns appeared, covered by the misty light. Danwen, it's really Danwen. Yi Han not only refined the 9 elements pill, but also condensed the body of the pill into rare patterns. Danwen. Absolutely impossible. Master Zhuge lost his sight and clenched his fists tightly. As is well known, a spiritual pill with a pill pattern has a value hundreds of times that of an ordinary spiritual pill. Pills with Dan patterns can be said to be rare, and even if 10,000 pills are refined, it is not necessarily possible to refine a pill with Dan patterns. Although Master Zhuge lived for over 100 years, he never succeeded in refining the pill that gave birth to the Dan pattern in his life. And the young boy in front of him unexpectedly concocted a spiritual pill with a pill pattern by hand. Master Cangqiong, as well as the elders of the Alchemists Guild, were also shocked and lost in silence. As for Lu Qingtan, Danfang's eyes were already filled with indescribable shock. 3rd grade pill, 9-element pill. And it has the legendary Dan pattern. She asked herself, even if given another 20 years, it would never be possible to refine it. A 17-year-old 3rd grade alchemist, not to mention the entire Flame City, is a genius who can cause a sensation even in the 8 wilderness ancient domain. He who used to mock him before, now he's been slapped in the face. A group of short-sighted guys. The entire square has caused heated discussions and a lot of noise. A third-grade alchemist is not uncommon, but a 17-year-old third-grade alchemist is enough to cause a sensation in the entire alchemist guild. Master Yi, I admit defeat. For a moment, Master Zhuge was convinced, and the previous arrogance and contempt were now completely gone. Instead, it is admiration. At the age of 17, alchemy had already surpassed him. Master Zhuge is too modest. Yi Han did not hesitate to take advantage of the situation, but instead gave him a step down. This made Master Zhuge even more impressed and grateful in his heart. Elder Cangqiong, thank you for your fire. This elixir fire is also quite handy. After speaking, Yi Hank flicked his finger, and a wild and fierce roar of the lion fire shot into Elder Cangqiong's eyebrows like a spiritual light. Master Yi, you're welcome. Elder Cangqiong respectfully arched his hand. At this moment, he was deeply shocked in his heart. The fierce flames of the lion fire were so light and gentle in Yi Han's hands. Master is indeed a master. And the onlookers were amazed to see Elder Cangqiong and Elder Zhuge calling a younger generation a master. You should know that even the Lord of Flame City may not be able to make them so polite. Master Zhuge, I'll give you this 9 yuan pill as a gift. However, that greenwood turtle vine hopes you can fulfill your promise. With a wave of Yi Han's sleeve robe, the 9 yuan pill fell into the hands of Master Zhuge. Master Zhuge held the pill with trembling hands, his gaze as if appreciating a rare treasure. His lifelong pursuit is to refine a spiritual pill that can give birth to pill patterns. But Yi Han did it. Easy to say, please. Master Zhuge, who had always had a cold face, quickly smiled and extended his hand to make way on both sides. Under the guidance of several elders, Yi Han entered the Alchemist Guild Tower. Alchemists Guild, Danti. Inside a towering tower, disciples are constantly secretly flocking towards this side. They either lay outside the window or climbed onto the pillars, as if wanting to peek inside the pavilion. Have you heard about it? Our guild seems to have a genius alchemist who is even more skilled in alchemy than Master Zhuge. A young girl whispered softly. It is said that the young man is only 17 years old, the same size as Senior Sister Lu. However, it seems that Senior Sister Lu's alchemy skills cannot match him. A chubby young man agreed. Don't squeeze, I saw him. Oh my God, how handsome. Some young girls have become obsessed with flowers and are full of imagination. What a proper way to make a fuss. Behind me, suddenly a shout of old age came out. Elder Yunlong. Hundreds of disciples quickly stood up and lowered their heads. Don't peek, go inside. After the white-haired elder finished speaking, a group of male and female disciples rushed forward and entered the main hall, standing in a row. Within Danti, sandalwood fragrance permeates the air, exuding solemnity and solemnity. Yi Han sat in the VIP seat, with the elders of the Alchemists Guild on his left and right sides. These elders are usually towering, but at this moment, in front of Yi Han, their faces are also filled with smiles and utmost respect. Some disciples were stunned. It was the first time they had seen a majestic elder so respectful to a younger generation. It was rare in their lives. However, facing a 17-year-old alchemist surpasses the existence of Master Zhuge. Not to mention them, even the president of the Alchemists Guild should be respectful and respectful. Master Yi, wait a moment longer. Elder Zhuge has already gone to fetch the medicinal herbs for you. Elder Cangqiong stroked his beard and said with a smile on his face. Yi Han slowly savored the tea and nodded. I don't know if Master Yi can give me some guidance on alchemy. I have been a second-level high-level alchemist for many years. At this moment, Elder Yunlong felt a bit embarrassed and said. The other elders suddenly had their eyes lit up, and naturally they also wanted to listen to the master's guidance. It's easy to say. Take a look at refining a furnace of pills. Yi Han put down his teacup and agreed. Ha, ha, ha. Elder Yunlong nodded and immediately took out the alchemy furnace to refine his most skilled heavenly spirit pill in front of Yi Han. Yi Han observed carefully until the alchemy furnace landed, and then he pondered, Elder Yunlong has a strong soul power, but his level of fire control is slightly insufficient. Alright, I'll give you a fire control technique. After speaking, Yi Han began to demonstrate. The raging flames were so smooth in his palm. Wonderful, so exquisite. It's truly a master-level fire control. The elders were amazed and looked at each other, their eyes filled with shock. No wonder Master Zhuge lost. Bang, ha ha ha. I have surpassed the third-level alchemist. Half an hour later, a burst of laughter came out. Originally, Elder Yunlong, after being casually instructed by Yi Han, surprisingly broke through. He spent 10 years without breaking through the bottleneck, but was unexpectedly broken by Yi Han in just a few words and successfully entered the third-grade alchemist. Master Yi, could you please guide me? My soul power control is insufficient. I also want to learn this fire control technique. Master Tianke, it's not right for you to cut in line. It's clearly me who took the lead. When the elders saw Elder Yunlong being promoted to a third-level alchemist, they naturally became extremely excited. They didn't want to miss such a good opportunity, blushing and clamoring for Yi Han to teach them their alchemy. A group of disciples watched from the side, stunned. After all, Yi Han has the foundation of a Holy Spirit, and even a casual touch is enough to make these elders enjoy it endlessly for a lifetime. And with the guidance of Yi Han, some elders became enlightened. Some of their soul power has been enhanced, and some of their fire control skills have become more exquisite. And some disciples who observe naturally benefit greatly. Half an hour later, Master Zhuge and Lu Qingtian entered the main hall. Chapter 10. Incomplete Danfang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Two figures strode into the hall with a meteor, and in an instant, all eyes converged. The visitors are Master Zhuge and Lu Qingtian. Master Zhuge's expression seemed to be in distress, and he held his fist with a hint of guilt, saying, Master Yi, the last medicinal herb you need called greenwood turtle vine is too rare. Our entire alchemist guild only has one left, so I have no right to decide to give it to you. However, if you insist on this herb, you can ask for advice on how to grow up. Please consult with the president. Yi Han gently lowered his teacup and raised his eyebrows. On the side, Elder Yunlong frowned and shook his head, saying, I'm afraid it's not the right time to meet the president. His family has been closed for several months, and even us guild elders cannot easily meet him. The president has a strange temper. If we go to see him rashly, I'm afraid. Elder Tianke also nodded slightly, looking at Yi Han with a guilty expression on his face. Is there no other way? Yi Han's face suddenly didn't look good, and 2 days later it was the day to open the martial tower, so he had to get this last medicinal herb. The president's seclusion this time will take at least a year and a half. It is said that the president received a missing 4th-grade pill a few months ago, and the missing corner of this precious pill roll happened to lose a medicinal herb. The president is studying the missing medicinal herb. The other elder pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice. Oh, is there anything else like this? Upon hearing this, Yi Han pondered for a moment and said, maybe I can help you find the missing medicinal herb and restore the 4th-grade elixir to its original form. This. Upon hearing this sentence, the other elders looked at each other in confusion for a moment. Although Yi Han is proficient in alchemy, it took several months for the president to develop it, and they do not believe that Yi Han can do it. However, after listening to Yi Han's teachings on alchemy, they also accepted Yi Han's favor. Therefore, after discussing with Elder Zhuge and Elder Yunlong, they nodded and said, okay, then let me go see the president. However, the president has a strange temper, so I hope you have some psychological preparation. Yi Han nodded and became increasingly curious. Under the guidance of several elders, after a while, a courtyard surrounded by bamboo forests appeared around Danti. Here, winding paths lead to seclusion, with rich spiritual energy and a peaceful atmosphere. However, as soon as the few people entered the courtyard, they saw a mess on the ground, with medicinal herbs scattered everywhere. Your Excellency, President Elder Zhuge and others walked forward and arched their hands. Get out of here. In the alchemy room, an old angry shout came out. Then with a loud cry, a pile of black medicinal herbs emitted thick smoke and were thrown out. This. Several elders looked awkwardly at Yi Han. Yi Han stood in place, his gaze fixed on the alchemy room, with no waves in the ancient well. The president has a hot temper, but he is actually a very good person. Elder Yunlong quickly explained with an awkward expression on his face. However, as soon as the words fell, there was a sudden bang, and the alchemy room shook violently, with thick smoke billowing out. In no time, a disheveled bald old man with a disheveled and dusty face, covering his face and constantly coughing violently, ran out. His beard was burnt, and there was no neat spot left for his robe. Oh, it's exploding again. Damn it, I almost succeeded. The president grabbed the residue of medicinal herbs on the ground and couldn't help but curse angrily. Yi Han glanced at the old man, who looked exceptionally thin, and several strands of hair on his head were blown up vertically, making him laugh uncontrollably. President, there are distinguished guests. Lord Zhuge whispered a reminder again. Don't disturb my alchemy, get out of here. The president is currently standing on his head, cursing loudly. Yi Han walked forward and took a light sniff around with his nose. He nodded slightly and said, the taste is clear and strong, with a hint of cool aroma, which is definitely the taste of Huangshua grass. There's also octagonal black ice grass, phoenix fire spirit fruit, and red sand leaves. Yes. The faces of several elders changed and they were about to step forward, fearing that the chairman's temper would explode. Unexpectedly, the president glared fiercely at Elder Zhuge, then looked at Yi Han with a wild expression, looked up and down, and asked eagerly, what other medicinal herbs are there? Yi Han smiled and then said again, fire spirit root, jade skin flower. And 9-grade purple Ganoderma, water spirit lotus. Yi Han casually mentioned 100 medicinal herbs. And the president is like a ghost, his face is full of shock at this moment. You should know that even a 4th-grade alchemist cannot distinguish medicinal herbs by their scent amidst a pile of ruins like medicinal herbs. But the next sentence is to make the president's whole person thunderous. If I guess correctly, this should be a 4th-grade elixir with 9 transformations of the golden spirit pill. Yi Han was confident and said solemnly. You. How could you tell by the scent of medicinal herbs that this is the 9 transformations golden spirit pill? The president's gaze immediately widened like a copper bell, incredulous. Even a 4th-grade alchemist cannot achieve it. Not all. Yi Han pretended to be mysterious and smiled. As a sage, such pills were considered low-grade in his eyes. The prescription was already ripe and rotten in his heart, so he could naturally distinguish it. What is the missing medicinal herb in the prescription? The president's gaze was fixed on Yi Han, eager to pry his mouth open. Snowbone ginseng. Yi Han squinted his eyes and smiled. Damn it, it's snowbone ginseng. Alright, I'll give it a try. If you can't refine the 9 transformations golden spirit pill, you'll just wait. After speaking, the president's gaze was burning, and he returned to the cabin once again to refine the pill. Alchemy maniac, indeed, has a peculiar personality. He could have achieved the 5th rank, but unfortunately, his talent is average. Yi Han's evaluation of this alchemist president who is obsessed with alchemy is also quite good. However, upon hearing this sentence, the other elders were immediately speechless and stunned. The president is a 4th-grade alchemist, but in Yi Han's opinion, his talent is only average. Is Yi Han's alchemy still above that of the president? Elder Yunlong and others became even more curious. Can the medicinal herbs mentioned by Yi Han be refined into the 9 transformations golden spirit pill? Buzzing, a few hours later, the alchemy room lit up with a burst of light, and a rich aroma of alchemy filled the air. Ha ha ha. It's done. A wild and unrestrained voice emanated from the Dan room. Is this really done? Master Zhuge and others looked at each other in surprise. The president has been studying for several months, but he never expected that Yi Han could only learn about this prescription and the missing pills at a glance. They suddenly felt that Yi Han's alchemy was simply unfathomable. And soon, the greenwood turtle vine was also generously gifted to Yi Han by the president. After receiving the last medicinal herb, Yi Han returned to the Yi family courtyard and began to refine pills in seclusion. He is going to challenge the spirit sea realm in the last 2 days. That night, the moon was dark and the wind was high. In the depths of Ye's mansion, a large hall is brightly lit. Dad Yi Tiange was dressed in a white robe, with a strong aura between his eyebrows and sharp eyes. Tomorrow is the day to open the martial tower. You need to seize the opportunity. If you can obtain high-level spiritual skills, you will definitely shine brightly in the selection of the Cloud and Sea sect in the future. Yi Tianba supported the chair with his palm and spoke sternly. He pondered for a moment, then his gaze suddenly became sharp and said, "Also, if there's a chance, just discard that kid Yi Han. Father, please rest assured that last time Xianin poison failed to destroy him, it was his good luck. This time, I will personally destroy his elixir field and trample on him fiercely." Yi Tiange's tone was contemptuous, and his eyes were fierce. He will make everyone understand that he is the true first pride of the Yi family. As for Yi Han, he is just an inconspicuous stepping stone. He is destined to be the 9 heavens dragon. Moreover, in order to open the martial tower this time, he naturally made sufficient preparations. Yi Tiange has absolute confidence that within the martial tower, he will let Yi Han know what despair is.